This morning we're going to grind a false edge on this this massive ladder pattern Bowie knife. The swedge itself is 7.5 inches long, so this wedge is as big as a lot of knives are. I've already set this up in the bevel grinding clamp just to save time. I got this set up. We're going to grind this wedge at 30 degrees relative to the center line of the knife. So that, inclusively, it'll be a 60-degree angle on the swedge. Let's go over here to the grinder and set this up. This is a 30-degree. I'm gonna grind this at 30 degrees. You make your own selection. This isn't locked in, set in stone by any means. It just depends on the blade, its size, the bevel grinds themselves, on what you want to select. It'll look best on the knife that you're grinding. I'm going to set the bubble at 30 degrees relative to the belt. It's best to do this without the belt being on the machine, but I've already set this on, and I set it without the belt being on there. You get a better set, more accurate, if you work right off the face of the platen. So, of course, I go here, put the bubble on top, center it, lock it down. That is 30 degrees relative to this platen set. Let's go ahead and start this grind. I use this large table to help steady this. There's many different setups on grinders. I'm not as steady as I was when I was 25 doing this, so this really helps me out having a large table to work off of. One more. Shallow there. We'll put another grind on that edge. Okay, let's switch spots. This blade has been hardened, so I'm quenching every time after every pass, and I'm using a new 36 grit belt on this. The couple things that make this this setup very useful is when I switch from the 36 grit belt to the and move down to a 60 and then to a 120. I can reproduce that on any grinder, on any setup. It's not relative to the table, or it's not relative to the table. The bubble's relative to the platen, so I can move it to another machine, and as long as I set that bubble on the platen and adjust it, I can run it on any machine. So since the blade has been hardened, I'm going to go ahead and run down through the grits. When I get to 120, grit, I'll take a close look at it, and I'll probably move into probably 400. This is a ladder pattern Damascus. The 400 grit should be sufficient to get the look that I want. But if you're working with a knife that has not been hardened, and you're doing it while it's still in the annealed condition, then as long as you remember to mark down what angle the grind was done at, then you can come back after the quench it's been done, the tempering's been done, and set the machine back up with a 220 belt or a 320 belt. Put that same angle on, and you'll be able to take the scale off of it in just a couple of passes. So there's no guesswork to this. This is very exact. We've learned a lot about the different uses of this little tool since we bought it on the market in 2009. It was initially just about grinding bevels, but now I do surface grinding to 4 places. Just handheld, because the bubble is very accurate. We also are doing distal taper. I do the complete knife with this. I set the ricassos using the bubble. I do the tangs the same way. So this surface is relative to this. The bevels are relative to the ricasso. The swedge, the false edge is also, they're all related because they're all done using the bubble. So they're all relative to each other. So when you go to put the knife together in the end, it looks and it actually is. It's like it was done by a machine because all the surfaces relate to each other. So there's no putting the handle on and the blade looks whopper-jawed, or the ricasso looks odd because, as I say, each one's ground using that bubble as a positioning tool. That way they all match. So whatever size that you're grinding, whether you're grinding a monster like this at 7.5 inches or grinding one that's 2 inches long, you're going to get the same results. They're going to be centered. Another thing about this, you don't have to mark this at all. I never mark the center line. This has the distal taper done. This is a hardened blade. All I got to do is take a mic and mic the distance from the top to that edge. If those are the same, the edge is in the center. There's no doubt about it. So, and I do the same thing with the bevels or the ricasso or any part of the blade. So we're getting ready to shoot some other videos. We haven't done any for a while. We've been busy trying to keep the business going, but we're going to do one on doing the distal tapers as well as doing surface grinding on it. So check us out. Have a great day and happy grinding.